Hello, friends. I am coming to you live from a park in, I think I'm in Orem, in Utah. And yeah, we're doing office hours today. So let me just get. Hello, friends. I am coming to you live from a park in, yeah, cool. So let me just get my screen shared and then we can get this party started. Oops. All right. So if you've never been to office hours before, this is your opportunity to ask me questions. You can join the Zoom call or you can just chat here in the KCD Office Hours channel in Discord, and I will be happy to answer whatever questions that I'm able. Another venue for asking questions and getting answers is the Call Kent podcast. I answer a question on here every weekday, and you can just literally go to record your call, make a new recording, record whatever your question is, and then submit that to me. And yeah, that's how that all works. But office hours is like we can go back and forth and stuff. So I think I've got a couple of questions in here that I can answer. And then yeah, if anybody who's in Zoom wants to ask a question, I always give priority to folks who are actually in the Zoom call. Okay, and I think Renee is in here.
Yeah.
Renee, yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. There are two questions that I feel like I should know the answer to, but it's escaping me. They're both use effect related. So the first one is, if you're doing event listeners, so like a .add event listener stuff, and then you return the remove event listener, do you put that use effect? Do you put the dependency array in the use effect or not? Because I've seen it done both ways.
Yeah, I certainly would have a dependency array even if it's empty.
Cool. Yep, that's what I have.
The only, really honestly, the only time that I ever leave out the dependency array is if what the effect is doing is like just so minimal, like setting the document title.
Right.
Or like just something that I'm like, yeah, I don't care if I even do this every render, like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So which is to say that's extremely rare. Like almost never do I leave off the dependency array.
Cool. Yeah, that's how I had it, but I'd like seen it. I'd seen examples, I think even in the React docs where they had event listeners without the.
I still like the React.
So I was like,
yeah, like the React team, they really wanted to make use effect not feel really complicated, and so they kind of talk about the dependency array as like a, if you need it then you do this, and they have a they're wrong. So yeah, and cool. I think maybe they're seeing that so it's possible that in the beta version they talk about the array a little bit more, but
cool.
Yeah. Sweet. The big fear that they had when they released hooks was that people would think that they're like really complicated and that it's a lot worse than class components and everything. So a lot of the wording and the way that they talked about hooks was kind of had that in the back of the mind, I think.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Good. That's how I had a code review and I was like, we need to put a dependency array in here. And then I doubted myself and saw examples where it didn't. I was like, oh, maybe we don't.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
And then the other question. Oh, yeah, the other one hopefully is just as fast as is the only sort of like path when you have a dependency array and it's got some function in it that came from a different hook. You have to go into that hook, memoize that function with use callback. That relies on stuff, go memoize that and kind of like follow it up the chain. So you make sure everything. Okay, awesome. That's also what I figured. I was just like, I have to go through all of this now and like backtrack back up to make sure. Yep.
Yeah. And actually, this is one of the reasons, sorry, we're like some guy doing his job, but
I don't hear anything.
Oh, you don't hear it? Oh, that's good. It's very loud for me. Yeah, so the that's one of the reasons why I really recommend against memoizing everything as like a
Mhm.
default behavior, because it just spiders everywhere. And if you
Yeah.
don't do that, then you're being counterproductive, because now you're just adding weight for no benefit at all, because you're just yeah, you're ruining it. And so yeah, just like I say that it spiders out.
Yeah.
It starts here and like, oh, now we got to do everything. And now all of a sudden everything, it almost like taking a function that was synchronous. It was like a utility function that you used all over the place, and deciding, oh, this needs to be async. And now everything has to be
Mhm.
async. So it's very similar, or the same thing with the generators as well. Man, can you not hear that? That's like crazy loud for me.
Yeah, no.
That's great. Man, this machine is amazing.
Yeah, no, I don't hear anything.
Cool. So yeah, I like sometimes that's just what you've got to do.
Cool.
But in practice, I haven't run into a lot of situations where that became a problem. And maybe it's just the way that I write my components and
Mhm.
hooks and things. So yeah, normally it's just like the highly reusable stuff that I need to memorize.
Yeah.
And the other thing, there's a way to work around this. If you're like, I'm making a reusable hook, somebody else passes a callback, and I don't want them to have to memorize that callback with use callback, because like
Right.
that's
Yeah, you
not a
talked about
fun
that in
API.
Epic.
Yes, yeah. So I think you might be familiar with this. But for other folks, if you go, first you need to read this, and then you can
Mhm.
read
The
this.
latest ref. Yeah.
Uh,
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
basically
so I'll have to share this for everybody else. And then actually, the latest ref pattern is the new use event hook
Mhm.
that the React team has proposed. And yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Cool.
You just need
Yeah,
to
I'll refresh
understand
myself
this.
on
Like,
those.
for anybody watching, you've got to understand this before you start using this.
Yeah, I have
'Cause
two examples. One was like, oh, I've got this basically like a function handle select. So when you change the select, it updates something on the page. And there's async data coming in. So I also need to use effect when that async data comes in, update the page to initialize like, oh, what's the like default sort of like thing coming from the server. So the use effect has the handle select callback in it to run it, which then needed to get memoized. That had a function in it that needed, like it was like, oh yeah, I just have to do that. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wait until I start seeing like, oh, this is just like infinitely rendering, or this isn't doing the thing because I haven't memoized something along somewhere in the tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
Cool. And then, yeah, I'll refresh myself on those just to see if I can get out of all the wrapping everything in a callback now.
Yeah.
All the way up
It's
the tree.
possible. I mean, it's blessed enough by the React team that they're
Mhm.
going to build that in. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just important to understand that like you're switching the trade-off a little bit
Mhm.
when you do that. So
Yep. Cool, man. Thanks so much.
yeah, sure thing.
I'll let you get to
Okay,
the
let's
Discord.
see. Yeah. Feel free to, if you think of something else, you're here, so you
Thanks.
get to have priority. So let's see where the, I think this is probably maybe the last one. Let me just make sure. Okay, yes, correct. All right, so Nile, if I'm saying that right, feel free to correct me, or Nile. If a user click on an image that oh, I think I do remember seeing this, and I think I was confused by the question. Yeah, I think yeah, we talked about that. Okay, here we go. Harun or Harun. I'm gonna go with Harun. Okay, you've got this JSX, some component is going to get re-rendered every time because we're passing an object. Yeah, so assuming that this component is memoized, because yeah, the default is everything gets re-rendered every time. So if this is memoized, then yes, this will get re-rendered every time. You could add a custom comparator that would compare the properties of the object to determine whether or not that should be re-rendered. So React.memo has a second argument where you get the previous props and the next props, and you can decide whether it needs to be re-rendered. So if you wanted to do that, I don't typically recommend it. But then, yeah, right here, you can use memo, and that totally works. We'll accomplish the same thing. Yeah, it bothers me. I don't know, is it worth it? Well, so again, memoizing stuff most of the time is not. There are very specific situations where it does make a lot of sense. But actually, this will hopefully, I think my network connection is not the fastest, but yeah, I'm looking for fix the slow render before you fix the re-render. So read that, because yeah, typically it's not worth it. If you really, this is mostly useful if you've got like a third-party component you don't control, that you want to memoize. You can either wrap it in your own component that uses React.memo or do this use memo approach. Interestingly, just I think yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, yeah, it was the day before, somebody asked me literally this question, and so I give an answer to that. So I will share that with you also, and hopefully that helps. Yeah, so the other thing is you just want to make sure that you measure. I talked about that in the answer to the call camp episode. So yeah, you just want to make sure you measure so that when you do an optimization, it's actually helping, because you don't you just slap optimizations all over the place. It may not actually help. All right, Wenbo, working on a project with one of the pages looks like the following. My question is how to do the test. Do I create a test file and write test cases for each subcomponent, or do I create a single test file for all of them with some integration tests? Okay, so we got a project list, bunch of components here. These components do not look like they're very complicated. They're just like layout components and stuff. Yeah, maybe search panel potentially, but yeah, still probably mostly layout, just accept prompts and render stuff. So I probably wouldn't bother testing these things unless you're talking about like a component library or something. Then yeah, I'd test those in isolation potentially. But yeah, I would probably just test the project list as like my first thing that I'm thinking about. You have this project that's using React Query and stuff. I would probably you're mocking out services project. So you're mocking this. I would not do that. I would instead use MSW to mock the HTTP calls that this is going to make. Yeah, this use HTTP thing is making HTTP calls. I would mock the HTTP calls that are made there with MSW. You'll find that right there. We have an MSW channel. And yeah, that's what I would do. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me, since this was a while ago, just answered this on stream. And it just occurred to me that I did not put a link to the live stream. So let me just go to that and put that there. Cool. You can't hear that? That's crazy loud.
I just barely heard something
barely?
just now.
Yeah.
Barely, yeah.
It's like we've got like this big fence, and he's trying to get the grass on the other side of the fence through the fence with this weed whacker.
Oh wow.
And so it's taking a while, and also he has to like hit the head of the weed whacker so that the string will come out, because he keeps on knocking off his string because he's hitting it on a fence. But this is like a city park, so it's not like he can go into the neighbor's yard and weed whack their side of the fence, but that would be the right way to do this. So
Yeah,
anyway,
for sure. Yeah,
um,
nothing.
I'm glad of that. McCool. That is a cool name, McCool, if that's how you say it. Sorry if I'm being offensive in the way I'm pronouncing that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if you use React Native Web. I do not. Decided to use React Native and React Native Web to make my cross-platform, yada, yada, auth flow. When I hit push button, gets this error. Yeah, I have no idea. My guess is that you don't have a route that handles this. So maybe it's possible that you have what you're doing is 100% client based routing. That's my guess. And you need to configure the web server to send your index HTML on 404s, which is incorrect, not the way we should be doing things, but it's the way we've been doing them for a long time. So that's probably what's going on. I think I actually yeah, Vercel. I don't do this because I use Netlify. But Vercel redirect index HTML 200 client rendered app. That'll maybe get us to where we want to go. Always redirect to the home page. Yeah, that's not gonna, I'm not sure. I don't use Vercel. Directory index. So yeah, I don't think that I can, at this point, I'm just like Googling for you. So yeah, but what you need, my guess is if you're just, it's a client rendered app, is you need to make sure that Vercel sends back the index HTML file, the public index, or just like redirects to slash on 404s. And I can show you the way that we do this with Netlify because I do this in the Bookshelf app. So if we go to public redirects right here, this is how Netlify does it. You say slash or star, we'll go to index HTML 200. So if it doesn't match anything else in the public directory, then it goes to this redirects. And if, yeah, and the way I have this configured for the Bookshelves app is we don't have anything at slash. We actually redirect everybody to list. So if you go to bookshelf.lol, that'll send you to /list because that's the way that it makes the most sense for this particular app. Also, I just wanted to demo how to do that. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Good luck. Just answered this. Okay, coming back further down. Yan, is there a way to set titles for catch boundaries? I have a loader which throws on certain errors. So a catch boundary triggers. Sorry, just yeah. Catch boundary triggers. And the problem is I need a catch boundary to then have a custom title. Is there a way to set a title in a catch boundary? Okay, yeah. So the way that you set the title is right here. Cannot set the title. Yeah, so what's probably happening is I think right now when the loader throws, data ends up being null or undefined. And so this destructuring is going to blow up. So what you need to do is handle that case where like if we were talking TypeScript here, the type for this data should actually be either whatever you return from your loader or undefined. And so if you handle that, then you can handle things a little bit better. We are absolutely considering how to improve this. We're not actively working on it or anything, but we are aware of this as a challenge, and there's probably an open issue for you on that. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Just answered this. Okay. Here, let me take a look at something here really quick, and then we'll move on to this next question, just to make sure that this isn't urgent. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that later. Okay. Here's that. Okay, so this is in the advanced React patterns. This is the context module, whatever. I made up a name for it, even though Dan told me not to make up names for things anymore. But I don't know, gotta call it something. Yeah, so when there's no catch and update user and handle submit. Yeah, so if you comment this out, it fails. That's because I'm guessing because you get an unhandled error, because that promise is going to reject. I'm not sure because that's going to be in a call stack that we have no control over, but maybe that unhandled promise rejection in Node is going to fail the test. That's probably what's going on, is my guess. But I would suggest that you don't do this. Don't leave dangling promises that don't have a catch. You want to make sure you handle those in the browser. When it's running, you're going to get like a big error in the console if you don't handle these. In our case, we were just ignoring the error, but you normally want to actually handle that. And then as far as this defer is concerned, adding that catch right there, you're not catching anything. The promise or oh, you know what? This is even more interesting. So when you say defer one dot reject, and then you say dot catch, just spelling it this line. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. So yeah, my guess is because there was an error thrown in the in the node environment, like an unhandled promise rejection, that's what's causing the test failure. That's my guess. So you want to handle your promises for sure. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, great. Benjamin, I'm exploring I18N with Remix. Thanks to Sergio, we already have a lot available thanks to our Remix I18N. Interestingly, since I've got this open, I did talk about that in this episode of the Call Camp podcast. So I'll just stick that there. Answering this now. Some crucial features are missing, already listed by Sergio and others in this discussion. So I guess my question, is it on the radar of Remix team to offer built-in support for I18N, knowing this is crucial for SEO and multilingual apps? So yeah, the URLs, yeah. So I don't think that there's anything, like I haven't read through this whole thing, but I'm pretty confident that there's nothing inherent about Remix that makes it impossible for you to make it an internationalized app, and even to be able to do locales in the URL and stuff like, so you can do like etsy.com/es whatever. That's totally possible, and we have configured the Remix website so that we can do that in the future. In fact, if you go to remix.run docs, you'll notice we actually do have a locale in there. So we do want to support other locales in the future. As far as like crucial missing features, I'm guessing you're referring to crucial missing features from Remix I18N, but I guess here that's probably not what you're saying. So let me just review this really quick. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, I see. Okay. I mean, the way that I would approach this is to load specific, or I'd have a module that's responsible that only runs on the server, that I can say, hey, here's the translation I want, here's the one I'm here. And the loader would just be responsible for loading all of the translations that I need for a given route. And then for like reusable components that are used on a lot of routes, those I would put in the root loader. It kind of like CSS in some ways. And so then you have access to that in the meta and everything. I don't think that that is problematic, but I don't know. So as far as like, is this on the Remix team radar? Yes, absolutely it is. We do want to have really great internationalization support. We're not currently actively working on this, but it is definitely something we're thinking about. So hopefully that answers your question. Good luck. Okay, Anonymous XX want advice from you what I should choose, web app or native apps for new projects for building a business. Well, so it's basically really hard for me to answer this question without understanding the business and everything. So given that, you probably shouldn't listen to me. But with that out of the way, I would say that a web app is typically going to allow you to reach more people, just because now you get you don't have to build two apps for like both iOS and Android. iOS and Android can access it. You can't get into the App Store that way, but you can use tools that allow you to turn a web app into a native app that will get into the App Store. There are lots of trade-offs there. I am not a mobile developer at all. I have, it's been a long time since I've done anything with mobile. And so I'm always going to skew on the side of the web, but I'm just a huge fan of the web. And I think it's the right place to build stuff for being able to reach as many people as possible. So I don't know. It's probably not the best answer, but it's the one I gave. So there you go. Good luck. What MacBook am I using? What model? I actually have a uses page that you can go and learn about everything that I use. So have fun looking through that. Amit is asking, what would be the best approach to select cache data when using Redux Toolkit and Redux Toolkit query? Do we need to use regular selectors to select data from Redux Store, or use RTK hook select data? So we'll make sure that we are always getting correct state of data. So I am not the right person to ask this question because I haven't used Redux in a very, very long time. Yeah, sorry, that is my answer. I don't know. I would recommend going to, I think Reactiflux has a Redux channel. I don't know if Redux has a support channel or something, but yeah, I'm not able to answer this question. Sorry. Nile, can you please offer office hours 2 days a week? Wow. No, I can't. I used to do 2 days a week, but it was just too much. So I'm doing as much as I can to do free stuff. As far as a JavaScript and React course from beginner to zero to hero, I do have a React course, not a JavaScript one, but I do have KCD.IM. I do have a series of JavaScript workshops that you can watch for free, and I reference those in how to React. So give that a look and stay tuned in the future, because eventually I do want to have something that takes somebody from I've never programmed in my life to I can ship production apps. So that is definitely something I'd like to do eventually. Okay, good luck. Do you currently use the Babel extension. Nope, I haven't used Babel in quite some time. Not for anything I'm actively working on. I definitely use Babel in older stuff, and most of those it's not worth migrating over to ESBuild, which is what I'm using for most things now. Thanks to Remix, it's built in. But I wouldn't say don't use Babel. I just don't feel like I need it most of the time. Okay, great. Whoops. That is it. Thanks everybody for asking. I'll wait just a little bit longer to see whether anybody else has other questions and things. And then I'm going to take off. So I should probably check how much data I'm using on tethering because, yeah, that could be a problem if I use all my tethering and then I'll be sad. That is not what I wanted to go to. I'm not getting any questions. I see one person typing, so I will wait long enough for that. Two people typing. Okay. Keep it going. While they're typing, I just had published my talk at whoops, gotta fix that. My talk at React Next. So if you haven't watched this yet, I recommend you give this a look. How to improve web app speed. Well, that's a pretty big question. I'm afraid I can't answer without like specifics. But I do have a performance module in Epic React. So you could take a look at that. But yeah, sorry, it's too big of a question. There are courses on Front-End Masters about web performance. And so if you want to learn all about that, and there are, if you go to web.dev, I believe they've got a bunch of stuff on performance in here as well, that you can like web performance. So take a look at some of those things. Okay, I am gonna take off here in just a second, so you gotta hurry and finish. Okay, Atebik, I have a test which looped over result items and scroll to a particular item, then check its visibility. But when I use scroll within view, it scrolls down to the end of the page. Scroll within view is implemented in execute sync of protractor. What can I do so it scrolls to the element? No idea. I haven't used protractor in an extremely long time. Yeah, I'm sure there's an answer, but I don't know what it is. Sorry. Okay, Diego, you're gonna need to wrap up because I'm gonna take off. Actually, Nile, it's just the juxtaposition of your question and mine, just like, hey, check this out. This will improve your web app speed. So take a look at that talk. All right, Diego, is it a bad idea to mutate server cache state in the client and then store it in a use state hook to use in some parts of the app? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by mutate server cache state. Oh, I see. So the stuff that you have in your query cache is a cache of the server state. So you're not mutating the server, you're mutating the cache that you have of that state in this client. Not necessarily, but just keep in mind that when you do that, you're potentially falling out of sync between the client and the server, which is the problem with caches in general. And so, yeah, what Remix says is let's just revalidate, and that's what I would do. HTTP requests are, yeah, that's how we do this. And then if you need to cache anything in the client, then use the cache control header. So hopefully that helps. Good luck. Yeah. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me for today's edition of Office Hours. I think I think I will be able to do office hours next week. I'm not positive though. We have some family things going on, but the next week I should be able to do office hours. And then it should actually start to become a lot more regular because kids are going back into school. So we're doing less family stuff. So anyway,